So I was looking at my kill count the other day, and I realized it was just way too high. So I decided I was gonna make others do the killing for me. So here it is. Can you beat Far Cry 5 with only companions? Now I just had to opt for the infamous difficulty. I needed my companions to suffer as much as possible. I was gonna make them fight for their life. I knew with New Game Plus I would be able to survive longer than 5 seconds, and they would have a chance. Let's take this time to go over the rules while the cutscene plays. First, no weapons of any kind. We cannot use guns, slingshots, crossbows, etc. 2. Fists are allowed to kill enemies, but only at certain times, meaning when my companions are in deep trouble, or if I cannot call them at this time. Number 3. Homeopathics are allowed during certain times. If I am dying so fast with a lot of groups of enemies, Ultimate Survivor is warranted. If I'm at a time where I cannot call my companions, I am allowed to use any of the other 3 to my advantage. Rule number 4. No damage is allowed to vehicles. I cannot run people over, I cannot shoot them with missiles or the machine guns or anything. And finally, rule number 5, an unmodded 1911 is allowed for certain circumstances. For instance, there's a part in the game where I have to shoot a lock off of a specific item. That is warranted. And without further ado, let's get right into the game. So as a junior deputy, my job was to arrest Joseph Seed under the suspicion of kidnapping with the intent to harm. His followers aren't too fond of us taking him, so they get mad, but Joseph, he calms them down and lets us take him. Now obviously, this can't be that easy, right? Well, of course not. As we're taking Joseph to the helicopter, his followers get angrier and angrier at us, but we keep calm and crash the helicopter. I quickly make my escape from the cultists, or better yet, the Peggies, and make my way to the last known location of the Marshal. Once I find him, he jumps me as I walk through the doorway. Once he realizes it's me though, we talk for a bit and decide to make it off of this island and come back with the National Guard. He gives me a weapon and tells me the plan, but unfortunately, the Peggies found us. Now, this is the first time when I thought I was going to do this without my fists at all. I would just let the companions do the work. But the fact that Marshal Burke dies so fast gave me such a wrong feeling. And I decided I was going to allow myself to use fists throughout this challenge. With my new plan in action, I quickly found a new way to take out all the Peggies with only my fists. Since they killed Marshal Burke in a few seconds, I could only imagine how short of a time they would take to kill me. So I hid behind the truck and took them out one by one as they came to get me. My strategy didn't exactly work out the way I planned, and I died. But luckily, the mission triggered a checkpoint, and Marshal Burke was instantly in the truck. I anticipated this section with the shooting would be much more difficult. But since I had 4 medkits, I actually survived the entire way through without shooting a single time. I only used that dynamite just to trigger the checkpoint in the mission. Not long after that, I was found by Walter White, or better known as Dutch. He takes me back to his bunker and tells me that we need to start a resistance. He frees me from my bed chains and tells me to get a new change of clothes. I was a bit indecisive at first, but I decided to go for a little kid look. Because I was thinking, if I'm not going to be doing the fighting, why not look like a kid who doesn't usually fight? But then I thought about having to punch enemies, so I decided to put bandages on my character. My loadout for this run consists of 4 unmodified 1911s. They will be used for shooting locks and not killing people. Now, I understand that this might seem weird, but you cannot have nothing in your inventory by choice. And this is what my inventory will look like unless I accidentally picked up a weapon. The next 2 minutes of my life would be spent throwing all 118 of my melee weapons. It was quite grueling just sitting there, throwing and throwing and throwing. On a more positive note though, my first outpost was easily cleared.
Useless fools. Hello, sir.
I see him! Kill the hostages!
With that outpost cleared, it was now time to get my very first companion. There were 2 Peggies in the way, but they weren't very much trouble. Now, I had my very first companion. Eric Ambrose and I then went to our first outpost together. This was where I really got a feel of how the companion system was going to work out this run. He was kind of kinky at first, but he started hitting all of his shots. He did go down once, but it wasn't very hard to get him back into the fight. The only problem he really had was trying to find this enemy. I marked him, but he just started standing there and waiting for nothing to happen. So I did have to intervene and kill him.
Your sin will shrivel in the light!
After liberating Dutch's Island, I'd need to get Adelaide in her helicopter, but I needed more firepower, so I'd need to go to the Pinco radar station to get the heavy companion. Then after that, I'd get Adelaide, Herc, Sharky, Nick, Grace, Boomer, Peaches, Jess, and Cheeseburger. But first I had to listen to John yap about his favorite word, yes. You know, this man talks so much about yes, he should have a podcast. That'd actually be quite entertaining. I'd definitely give it a listen. My next order of business would be to get a helicopter. No, I would not use it for killing enemies, I would only use it for mobility. The only reason I'd get an attack helicopter is because I'd want my companions to fly it. After picking up another companion along the way, we all went to the radar station to get the heavy. Now first we'd have to liberate this outpost to get him to spawn. I'll show you the clip right now. And right inside this building is the MVP of the run. I couldn't tell you how many times this guy came in to save me. So then I continued on with my plan and went toward Adelaide Drummond's area. So I had to clear the outpost first, but that wasn't too much trouble. I did fall down a couple times, but my companions did most of the work. Once the outpost was liberated, Adelaide told me to go get her helicopter and then she'd help me out. This mission was quite easy actually. My companions locked on to the target really quickly and took him down with relative ease. After bringing the helicopter back, the outpost was actually under attack, so I just hung around and waited for the NPCs to do the work. And it actually worked out the first time. I didn't have to do any fighting at all. I talked to Adelaide and she was now available to be my companion. Then the 3 of us went over to see Sharky Beauchamp. To get him as a companion, we had to kill a bunch of brain-dead cultists called Angels. They basically just rush at you with melee weapons. Once all the cultists were cleared out, I talked to Sharky and he was now available to be my companion. Just look at him, he's so happy to do his little dance. Then I headed into John's region and I was gonna grab Grace on my way to Nick Rye. But I figured I'd grab the outpost before talking to Nick. Grace's mission was actually quite successful. All I had to do was point in the right direction and my companions did all the work. So I unlocked Grace as a companion and headed toward Nick Rye. I thought I would play it smart and take care of the outpost first. In Nick's mission, you'd have to grab his plane from this outpost. You can clear it or you cannot clear it, either one. So I easily grabbed the plane and started to take off. Nick contacted me and wondered what I was doing with his plane, but he just told me to take it back to his base. Now this is where my heart sank. I had to shoot bliss tankers and blow up planes, all while Peggies were nearby. That would mean they would die in the process and I couldn't get Nick as a companion. So I took the long drive of shame over toward Ray Ray's pumpkin farm and grabbed Boomer. Then I headed over to the Whitetail Mountains to get Herc. I had to talk to his dad first, which told me about the truck that he lost and Herc had to get it back. Herc told us we needed to clear a small outpost of enemies before proceeding. My companions didn't take too much time to get rid of all these enemies, but I was a little concerned when the guy got on the minigun. Once we grabbed Herc's truck, it took quite a few attempts to master. I had to have a companion in the car to do the shooting, but it actually worked out in the end. Here, watch this clip.
Just my luck. Xander was about to show me advanced couple yoga. We'll have to wait thunder junk.
Yo, we got
So when Grace died, and we spun out, I figured the helicopter must have not registered that we were there, and the game kinda glitched out. It worked out in my favor though, because I completed the mission and got Herc. So I then went over to talk to Miss Mabel and grab Peaches. My companions then had to clear out a small area of Peggy's because they wanted to kill Peaches the cougar for some unknown reason. After clearing the enemies, I lured Peaches back into her cage and talked to Miss Mabel to unlock Peaches as a companion. And this is where I experienced my first forced capture. Faith basically talked to me about the bliss and how the father's doing a great job and how we should have faith. The marshal even jumped off this tower and thought I should do the same. So I did follow the rule and jumped off a cliff along with my friends. Then I headed over to the lumber mill to clear the outpost so I can get Jess Black's mission. Jess Black is the hunter and she's actually quite a good companion. Her aim is on point like Grace and she's also very silent. Once freed from her cell, I talked to Jess and got her mission. Basically, I had to kill a bunch of Peggies and save a bunch of hostages. It was quite easy and got me progress for the hostage mission that will be later given to me in the game. My companions easily dispatched these guys like no tomorrow. Even the cook, which is the main boss of this mission, was easily killed by one shot to the head. And of course, Jess was now unlocked as a companion. Completing the mission actually triggered my first capture by Jacob. Now, this would bring me a lot of trouble during the run. So Jacob is a soldier with PTSD, and he tries to use classical conditioning on me to get what he wants. That music box is a stimulus, and it activates my kill mode every single time. This brings you into a small trial, which puts you into a frenzy mode, where you kill a bunch of people with guns. Now, I tried to do this with only my fists, but on Infamous mode, they kill you so fast, and I just could not do it, so I had to accept the fail and use a gun. After that, I was brought back to Eli's Den, which is basically the main hub for this region. And now I was on to my last companion mission. I had to clear the Fang Center of Peggy's so I can get the mission to grab Cheeseburger the bear. My companions did all the work as usual, but I did go down a few times and had to retry. Soon after, I talked to Wade and he told me that Cheeseburger liked fish, so I had to go fish for a fish at a nearby fishing spot. Wow, quite the sentence. But here's my meeting of Cheeseburger. Quite the cuddly bundle of joy, I know. But he and I took care of the Peggies nearby, and I unlocked him as a companion. And once again, Jacob captured me mid-air somehow. So Jacob locks me in a cage and makes me talk to Joseph. Joseph tells me about his quote-unquote beautiful wife and child, and his wife died in a car crash, and his child he suffocated to death on purpose because God told him to.
Your purpose!
I once again tried for another hour to do this without guns, but it was just not possible. I didn't have any time to react and they just killed me way too fast. So unfortunately, I had to use guns again. After accepting my unfortunate defeat, Herc, Sharky, and I headed over toward the voting center to kill all the Peggies who are hoping to vote for people other than Herc's dad.
Oh yeah! Sorry, friend! Not oh, they are gonna hurt bad! Ow! Oh, baby!
I don't know why, but Herc absolutely locked in on that mission. But next, I had to climb a bunch of radio towers. I know, how ironic for a Far Cry game. And Herc continued to be locked. If you made it this far, comment Bingle to Dingle. So it was finally time to take on Jacob and destroy these generators. I had to take on an interesting strategy and take care of the enemies first, then blow them up later. To be honest, I think Jacob's death should have been a little more exciting. After Pratt has his crash out at the bunker, we escape and blow it up to complete Jacob's region. Now, we are free to move on to Faith's region in hopes of having less complications like with Jacob's trials. I immediately went to blowing up the Joseph statue, but I also made sure that no enemies were around in the explosions. While going up, I had to deal with stuff like this. Just watch. Yeah, this mission was not fun at all. I had to wait for them to climb up the ladders and kill themselves with fire. It was just ridiculous. But I burned the book and got out of there. But on a lighter note, I did liberate my first outpost undetected with only my companions. Then Faith brought me back to the Bliss, and Joseph wanted to talk to me about the end of the world. He basically was saying that the world's on the brink and people are gonna nuke each other, so I should join him and prevent myself from getting burned in the ashes of the so-called collapse. Then I awoke at the Hope County Jail, and apparently the Peggies were attacking the walls, so I had to get my companions to do all the killing.
Shoot the speaker! Got your back, friend! That was awesome!
After that fiasco, I had to sabotage each car and make sure no enemies were around to die from the explosion. I then worked my magic at the water station, concluded Feeney's existence, and had Adelaide gun down an entire group of priests.
Welcome to the Bliss.
I was taken by Faith once again, and she tried to get the Marshal to blackmail me into getting into the cult. But instead, I captured him and brought him back to base. Then I talked to some vet doctor, blew up some Bliss while the area was clear, and bought a crapload of medkits for Faith's battle. Faith made the Marshal kill the mayor, destroy the security system for the prison, and also made him kill himself. Quite unfortunate, but I didn't care much about him as a character. So it was then I used my very much patented method to get into the prison without getting shot at. It's actually very effective, and you should try it one time. It was then I had to clear a room of Peggy's and save a few hostages. It was nothing I couldn't handle, but it was a little bit annoying. Faith's boss fight was actually much easier than I anticipated. I thought for sure it'd take me at least a few tries, but I actually got her on the first attempt, which gave me a big boost of morale for the rest of the run. Then Faith pulls a Skylar White and tries to drown herself in the pool of water. For some unknown reason, Bliss gives you suicidal thoughts, so the sheriff thought he'd join Faith and the Marshal. So I decided to stop the Bliss and end this suicidal thoughts pandemic. And Faith's region was finally cleared with little to no issues actually. Bunker was blown, and now I was onto John's region. I was in the home stretch of the run, so I knew I had to lock in. The instant I entered John's region, his men were coming for me and I got caught. John then attempted to drown me, but luckily Joseph was there and saved my life. I'm not entirely sure why Joseph has so much faith in me, even after I killed 2 of his family members. I don't know, it's just not something I can fathom. So I liberated another outpost undetected, quite easily, avoided a few roadblocks while trying to make it to town, and talked to Pastor Jerome about a cult defector. Just watch this riveting clip.
What if I told you that everything could be overcome to embrace an idea?
One less asshole to worry about!
That's
Yes, you saw that right. I sat there and watched TV while my companions did all the dirty work. So then I carried the defector to the boat, which was moderately easy. I did die a few times, but it did work out in the end and I completed the mission. Then I talked to Merle about getting his truck back. It was mostly easy, but my companions did have a bit trouble tracking the cult VIP. So I ran over the Bliss as Merle shot, and listened to one of the weirdest characters in the game.
Fellow seeker, that's what I'm talking about. Who gives a fuck what I'm saying? I'll show you. Come on.
He basically just wanted me to kill some drugged animals, which wasn't too hard. Not long after, John's men captured me yet again. John's men took me to his bunker, and they took all my stuff. The only thing that really affected me was the loss of medkits. So John plans to torture me by tattooing my sin on my chest and then cutting the skin off. How fun! So I make my great escape by rolling the chair down the stairs and definitely not breaking my neck on the way down. Then I stealthily kill all of John's men in his bunker and make my swift escape through the exit. Then I spend even more money buying all my medkits back. I had Grace blow up the Revelator with a helicopter, and continued the trend of blowing things up by blowing up the cult's gold mines. John got a little angry that I kept blowing all of his stuff up, so he took over the church at Falls End and started giving me a tattoo. He finally made the tattoo say Wrath because apparently that's my sin. So he decided it was a good idea to make everyone forcefully repent for their quote-unquote sins. But unfortunately, Pastor Jerome made me pull a Trump assassination attempt by shooting John in the ear. The next driving part was actually pretty simple. I just had to use over 15 medkits for it because the enemies just kept shooting and shooting, but I made it. The next part of John's boss battle was I had to fight him in a plane. Now, this was very difficult because NPCs cannot fly planes other than Nick, and I didn't have Nick at my disposal, so I had to fly around for 20 minutes and have my companions shoot. But eventually, we took his plane down and we followed him on the ground and shot him up. So I went to John's bunker to hopefully find Deputy Hudson hiding inside. I was hoping for a warm welcome, but she decided she wanted to stab me to death, so I had to convince her otherwise, but it did work out in the end. So she opened the doors, and I smashed a few computers with my fists, and used my 1911 for the first time in the run. Then it was a matter of opening hatches and waiting for the helicopter to arrive. With John dead and his bunker destroyed, it's now time to take on the big man himself, Joseph Seed. So Joseph called me out on live television that I killed his entire family and started crying about it. So he summoned me to his church and I had to fight him there. So I prepared myself by buying 55 medkits to take to the battle. So I made my stylish entrance, and there we were, the end of the line. It was time to make our decision. Joseph said we shouldn't fight and I should leave his flock to him and leave Hope County. But I was thinking I could just kill him and save the county from whatever he thinks he's doing to save the people. And here's the end of my challenge run through Far Cry 5. Enjoy!
Your friends now see the truth. They welcome Eden's Gate into their hearts. They will die for me. and you threw it all away. You brought the world crashing down around us. Don't you see that?
Well, that was weird.
What the fuck happened?
Sorry, Deputy. My thoughts weren't my own.
You cleared my head of all that
Why
bullshit.
is the face of
Your
truth
pathetic lie now!
stand
And
before the
it's time
storm?
for Joseph Seed to fall!
Everything you've done, everything you've earned, everything you fought for is for nothing!
Jesus! Let's do this fast. Christ! That was a bad trip.
Sorry. Thoughts weren't my own.
You will feel the full fury of the Lord!
I hate to fuck you up like this, Dad.
The hands of many are stronger than a few.
Joseph Seed, am I right? Oh, shit, I
Be gone, demon!
Take him down hard.
You don't know what you're doing! Only I can save you! You have to believe me!
And there is the end of Joseph's Seed at the hands of all of my companions. How beautiful is that? It's like the ending fit the challenge.
It is finished, child.
And with that, our run is over. So, can you beat Far Cry 5 with only companions and your fists? Heck no. There's too many parts in this game where you can't have your companions, and you just die way too quickly with only your fists. But I do thank you all for watching. It's been a great time, and it was quite challenging at some parts. But overall, I'd definitely do it again if it meant I could have this much fun. But thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.